Okay, welcome to the September Amplify Your Research session. My name is Ryan. I am the AMP administrator, and this Amplify session is going to go over brand books, how to search them, how to find them, how to use them. So first things first, just in case you're not familiar with the Arizona Memory Project, this is the home page. You can feel free to bookmark that, go into any internet browser, and just type in Arizona Memory Project. It'll be one of the first things that comes up. So this is just the home page. So let's start with a simple search to find the brand books. And then once we get there, I can show you how to bookmark it, how to make it easy to find it later. But if you're starting all the way from the beginning, here goes the search. You can just type in brand books. You don't need to do anything with any of these. We have other Amplify sessions that show you what all these do, advanced searches and what the formats mean, filtering by date. We have other Amplifies that go over those functions, but simple search. Brand books, just click search. First search result should just be your brand books. So we'll click on that. So everywhere that we have a brand book will show up here. So real quick, in summation, a brand book is essentially cattle brands that have been registered through the Arizona Department of Agriculture. And the Arizona Department of Agriculture has gone through different names over the years. You can see that these go back to 1898. But essentially, an agency is recording these brand books for cattle. So that way it sort of determines ownership. Yes. And there goes, yep, there should be a link there to find the brand books. So a couple of things about this page. You'll see over here that it's linked to the Arizona Department of Agriculture, the Arizona Livestock Sanitary Board, and the Arizona Livestock Board. So those are the three agencies that over the years have handled the registration of these brand books. You can see that's related to the animals and livestock topic, business and industry topic, cattle topic, and ranching. Going to one of these will take you to a similar looking page that deals with all the items that are related to animals and livestock across the entire site. So that's just pointing out what these links mean. So these brand books are part of the animals and livestock's landing page. They're right here. And similarly, this will take you to other pages that are like that. This one's all business industry, cattle ranching, etc. You can see the collection that's related to. Okay, so the brand books sub-collection is divided into documents, newspapers, and a periodical. So the documents are the brand books themselves. These are the resources, the books themselves that have been digitized and uploaded here. So we'll go through each of these categories. So a document will open like a document. You can search it. It'll behave like a PDF. The newspapers are not the brand books themselves, but sometimes printed in a newspaper would be cattle brands. So it's a way to search for these cattle brands that may not be included in these books, that they were printed and published in another way. So wherever we found any cattle brands that were included in a newspaper, we link those newspaper issues here in the sub-collection. And there's also one issue of Arizona Highways that goes over cattle brands, and we'll take a look at that as well. So first, I want to show off one thing that you can do. There is the opportunity to create a member account. It's optional. You do not have to sign up for it to find any content. It's not like you can't find the brand books unless you sign up for an account. It's completely optional. You're not being blocked from any content. But once you do create an account, what it'll do is it'll let you bookmark any item on the Arizona Memory Project. That includes, a single document, a sub-collection of the brand books. So every page on the Memory Project that's an item of any kind will have the star over here. You can click Add to My Collection. It'll tell you that it's been successfully added to your collection. And then you can always find it over here. Once you're logged in as a member, you can go to My Collection. And you can see that the brand books are now loaded over here. So that way you don't have to keep searching for brand books all the time. You don't have to start over and type in brand books every single time and click into it. You can always just log in as yourself, whatever credentials you use, come over to My Collection, and then they'll be sitting there for you. And that'll take you straight to the page. All right, so let's open one of these up. Let's just start with, just go with the first one. Okay, you can see that it's formatted as a document. It's linked back to the sub-collection brand books, so that way you can always find your way back. All the metadata over here will tell you any alternate titles, the creator, so which creating agency, the subject it's related to, the date it was published, which institution contributed it, any rights statement attached to it, things like that. So this behaves like a PDF. So if I was going to search for something in here, I'll just call it brands. You can see that there's 97 matches. I found 97 instances where the word brand exists in the document, and it'll highlight it in green for you. And then you can either click one of these buttons to move it forward. And sometimes you'll get false positives. You know, it's looking for those numbers exactly. So if I switch to brands, there you go. Went from 97 to 3 because now it's a lot more specific. Okay. But the trick is these cattle brands are symbols. So there's no way that you can search for a symbol in this box here. Like, how would you type this? You know, you've got basically, this symbol over here, over an A and a T. You can't search for that. Or how would you search for this semicircle over a dot? You can't do it. Or even what these symbols mean. So what's helpful is that at the beginning of every brand book, they give you instructions on how to sort of read it. So it's usually in the first few pages. Sometimes they'll start with an index. You just got to make your way through there. Over here. Okay, so first, let me see. This one might not. Okay, this one actually didn't include instructions. So let me jump to another one. There we go. Okay. So this one will give you instructions on basically the organization of the brand book. Since you can't search it, you have to sort of manually scroll through it to find what you're looking for. So it's telling you that brands have been arranged first under its letters. So A's, B's, C's, right? Just the alphabet. After it gets through all the letters, it starts with numbers. Once all the numbers have been exhausted, it starts with squares. It goes into shapes: squares, triangles, diamonds, quarter circles, underbars, undercrosses, right? So, and then it keeps explaining a little bit more things. Any open A is going to be found under a triangle. O's and circles have been placed together. Figure 1 will be found under I, just because that's a Roman numeral, right? It's mentioning here things about jaw brand. That's referencing that it will also tell you the location of where the brand is on the animal. So J for jaw, N for neck, S for shoulder. You might need to know where the brand was actually placed on the cattle. And then here I can tell you that it's saying it's like, okay, rebrands first from left to right. So that's pretty standard. So if you've got something HLG, you'll find it under H because it starts with H. And then once you go left to right, top to bottom. So it reads like a book. These brands read like a book. So if you've got R over T, you'll find that under R. Start with R when you scroll through it. So this will give you some pretty handy notes on sort of how to read a brand book. So let's go to one. So here it starts off. And you'll notice that not all of these are A's exactly as you'd expect to write them if you were writing the letter A. So sometimes they're sideways. Sometimes they have curls on them. Sometimes there's two of them. They've got other letters attached to them. This one is intersecting C, but very broadly, these are A brands. And so they've categorized them under A. And so that's why they show up first. And they're all going to be broadly on the left or on the top. If you don't have a left one, you have a top one. So sometimes we'll get a patron who's asking us, hey, we're looking for a cattle brand. And the way that you would write it out in letters, since you're not typing these symbols, would be A bar over A. That would be this one. And sometimes you'll get multiples. We'll get into sort of how the names work, because those you can search, which is really helpful if you know the name of the person the brand was registered to, but maybe not necessarily the brand symbol. This is helpful because this you can search. And I'll go back to that one. But as you make your way through, there go all the A's, and you can see they start getting, more symbols. It goes from AAs to ABs, ACs, ADs, and then it works its way into symbols like this. And now here's your B's. And then you follow the same pattern. Starts on the left, read it left to right, top to bottom. Same as the instructions that you get from the beginning of the brand book. So you just kind of make your way through, and you can see like this is a 200-page document, so you generally know it's like, okay, well, I'm looking for something in the X's and the Y's, something way at the end, then you got to scroll for a bit before you actually find it, give the document a chance to load. Yeah, and then you can start to see like after you get through the letters, now you've got into just straight symbols or shapes. These are a little bit tricky. If you know the name of the person the brand is registered to, that makes it a little bit easier. But once you get into here, it's kind of, you just kind of have to, look for it. It helps to know, kind of like the a description of the brand. And even if it's something like if you had a question for us and you asked us like, hey, I'm looking for this brand, it kind of looks like a T with a sideways J underneath the top of the T is squiggly, that kind of stuff. Do your best to kind of describe what that brand might look like, because you might have the brand drawn or written somewhere, the symbol, but then how do you find it in one of these books, right? So that would be the challenge. So once you get into these symbols, you just kind of know like, hey, if you've got a symbol that looks like this, or just a squiggly line with with things on the end, then you're not doing it. You're not going to be looking in the A's, B's, the alphabet part. You've got to get to the end, where the symbols are. So, for example, if you had the name and you weren't sure what the brand is, let's see if I can get Harry James to show up in here. Let's search. That's a lot of search results. Yeah, sometimes it's a little tricky trying to find it. They are OCR'd. Sometimes you'll find that it's not perfect, and so you kind of have to look around a little bit. But if even if the OCR doesn't find it, this is an index of names, and if you know at least the last name, then you can kind of scroll if you're not finding the exact name that you're looking for. See if we can get this to catch him. Yeah. Well, for example, just to use this as an example because it found it. If you know the name, but you don't know the symbol, type in names, see where it shows up. And then if you're looking for James V. Parks Jr. Out of Duncan, then there's your symbol. Then you can tell. And these symbols here, so these are the brands themselves, and then these will tell you where on the animal it was. So those are, here's an example of one of the books, and you can see the oldest one is from 1898. The latest one, I believe, is 2022. So you still can't search symbols, but the text is a lot clearer, right? Because these were created digitally. They weren't from here where everything's kind of typed up, but more in that sort of handwritten that's kind of difficult to read. This is a lot easier for OCR to pick up. So on your later ones, this gives you a little bit more information about some of the statutes that are involved in cattle branding. But this also gives you similarly instructions for how to do it. So for non-alphabetical brand order, you go your boxes, then open boxes, benches, triangles, rafters. So it's nice because it tells you what these symbols are called. So that way you kind of don't have to sort of describe it in a way that you have to sort of make up to kind of make it make sense. Like, okay, what would you call this? Like it's a rocker, like it has a name, And sometimes you wind up with things that just don't. They're miscellaneous. There's a lot of stuff that is kind of, it doesn't fit in any of those categories. But nonetheless, it still gives you those instructions. This gives you helpful symbols drawings that show you that if you see this symbol on the brand, then this and this, like this, then you know that that brand was applied to the upper half crop of the cattle's left ear. So then you can see that here the text is kind of cleaned up a bit. It's a little easier to read, both for people and for OCR, the text recognition in the. So one of the ways that we uploaded these is that the year is in the title of all these brands. So sometimes people want to trace, like, hey, when my great grandfather had a cattle brand, we're trying to figure out, did he renew the license? Because you have to renew these registrations, and if you don't, after a certain period of time, they become abandoned brands, and then they can be used again. So yeah, it's something you have to keep registering for. So sometimes people are trying to trace their family history. They were trying to figure out, for how many years was this brand registered. So then you just find the brand and pick a date, see if you can find the brand, and if it's there, then work your way, either forward or backward in time to figure out how long it's been there. So if you find it in 1898, you find it, for example, say it's just the A5 one. Okay. There's another 1898, 88. Okay, work your way up to the 1900s. And then just keep looking, right? So you just kind of look for the same brand across the years, trying to figure out where they are. So again, the logic of how these brand books are organized stays pretty consistent. If you know you've got an A brand, then you don't have to look very far. You can just start near the beginning. So it's not like the rules of how these brand books are organized really change over the years. So it's pretty consistent in terms of being able to find things. All right, so newspapers. So that's how you sort of handle the brand books that are books formatted as a document. Then you've got this newspaper section. And you can see over here that there's 20 of them that we found so far. If we find more, we'll add them to the sub collection. But for now, we found 20 of them. So let's go with the Mojave County Miner for 1889, August 3rd. Okay, so if you get here, you're like, how am I supposed to find it? There's 4 pages. Look how tiny this text is. What we've done is wherever we found livestock brands in a newspaper, we tagged it. So that way you can come over here and just click tag. If for any reason this is turned off, like an X, you can click on it to turn it back on. It should default to being turned on. But click on the livestock brands and it'll jump straight to the section of the newspaper where the brands are located. So you can see the tag is located here. So that tells you that's where the brands show up. While we're here, I'll show you a couple things that you can do to make this newspaper a little bit easier to read, because even at this level, you can't read this very easily. The text is too tiny. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just using my mouse scroll. You can also manually do this. I'll show you a way that you can make this even look even better. But for now, there's the livestock brands. One reason you might want to turn off the tag is if it's in the way, because now it's covering some of the text. So you can just, now that you know where it is in the newspaper, click show tags, turn it off. Now you can see. So here you can see that Samuel Crozier had a Circle C. It actually looks like a copyright symbol, but the brand was on the left hip. The ear marks, swallowed fork in the ear. The range was located in Truxton, Mojave County. The nearest post office is in Hackberry. Okay, cool. So, this is something where, if you're not able to find a brand in one of the brand books, or if you're trying to confirm whether the brand appeared somewhere else, like in a newspaper for a different year, maybe there's a year in a newspaper that we don't have a brand book for, you can use this to sort of supplement your research, to sort of look at these newspapers. So while we're here, if this is too small, you can zoom over to here. Once you get over 100%, it's going to show red, and then this is going to start flashing at you. This is a way to zoom to 100%. I know it's confusing because it's asking you to zoom to 100%. You're at 118, but essentially what the tool does, if you click on this, it opens up a pop-up window, and then this is going to be a lot clearer to read. You can zoom in further, give it a chance to sort of load the image. Might take a bit depending on internet speed. Yeah, but this will get you, it's still a little blurry. Text is really tiny, but this is usually going to give you better image quality even as you zoom in. The tag will still be there. If you want to get rid of it or toggle it, you can do that. Turn it on and off over here. But same information. It's just giving you a higher quality zoom. So it's a little bit easier. And then when you're done looking here, you can X out of it. And again, if you don't, if you find specific items in the memory project that are related to the brands you want. So say you bookmarked the brand books sub collection as a whole, just as a place to start. But as you get in here and you're looking for a specific brand and you want to start bookmarking items, only the items that have the brand that you're looking for, you can always come over here, add to my collection. It'll tell you that it added. Come over here to my collection, and there it shows up. And if you start compiling, the way that this works is whenever you bookmark something, the latest thing just kind of goes to the top. So these things will just get pushed down as you bookmark more things. If you want to create a sub collection for yourself, you can do that over here. And this is a side note, but it'll help you if you've got a lot of items that you just kind of want to keep together. So real quickly, start a new collection. Call it whatever you need to, create it. And then you can check the items that have the brand that you're looking for, or whatever it is that collection that you started. And then it'll this drop down will default to whatever one was created most recently. If you have multiples, the other one could be T bar over H. You can create as many of these as you want. So for this one, we're going to do that. Add checked items to collection. And now you've got a collection over here. So now you know that you've organized your items in a way that that only the items that have the brands you're looking for are included here. And there's other things you can do. You can share this out with someone. You can rename the collection. You can delete the collection. You can remove specific items from it. We have another AMPlify research session that goes over how to do all of these different organizational features that are available. All right, so that's how you would look for them in newspapers. And then we've got a periodical. This is Arizona Highways from 1942, the April or the March edition, excuse me. And let me see. Let me get to the page where they talk about cattle brands. Thought I had this loaded up ahead of time. There we go. So this particular issue of Arizona Highways has an article, how to read a brand. So a primer. So this also gives you some sort of insights about sort of the logic of kind of how these brands are sort of put together, including like what to call things. So like if you see a symbol like this, that you would call that box A. This is a running M, a rocking K, B/B, 7 up, right? So this is just an example of how to go through it. You can always zoom in, and then it proceeds to read just like an article if you're familiar with Arizona. So they just kind of give you sort of like a primer. It's like it's not a language, it's a fascinating kind of American hieroglyphics, right? And so which for practical purposes you can't search it, right? I can search this article for bar, but I can't enter a bar like that and have it find this. It's not gonna find it. So this article, this might be a useful resource just to sort of brush up with kind of how it works. Again, it's from the 1940s, but kind of the language of the brands don't change all that much. So you'll still be able to sort of find things broadly the same way, whether you're searching a brand book from the 1890s or the 2020s. But this is pretty useful because if you're doing research for a brand that's older than the 1940s, it may be that it's described in this way, the way that they're kind of talking about this is a pear shape, things like that. So double O, double X, things like that. So it can be handy when you're doing research. So that is kind of the overview of all the different brand book that we have available in the memory project. So just a quick recap, you can always bookmark this page in your browser. You can add it to your collection if you create an AMP member account. One other thing I'll mention, most sub collections in AMP have this search this sub collection, meaning anything that you type in here, it's only going to be looking in items that are linked back to this branded book sub collection. So it's not searching the rest of the site, it's only searching the 65 items that are linked back to here. Again, you're going to get less mileage out of this one, just because of the way that brands are shaped and you can't search for it. But if you have a name that you're looking for, you can search it, and then you can see that there's only, the only search results come from these brands. And when you click into one, you'll see that the URL has all this extra stuff on top of it. That basically is telling you that, hey, this is the search that was run. And when you open an item from a search result, then by default, it's going to open up and it's going to highlight wherever it found the keyword search that you put in. So everywhere it found Smith, it's going to find it for me automatically. As long as the format is for a document. Newspapers, newspapers can be a challenge for it to do that. Periodicals are okay. Anything that's sort of like image based, like a photo or something like that. But there's not any of those in the brand book. So when you click on an item like a brand book from a search result, it's going to find all that stuff automatically for you. So yeah, there's the brand books page again. We've got 44 of them uploaded to the memory project. So far, we found brand books or brands that are printed in newspapers in 20 issues, and then that Arizona Highways magazine article. Some of the stuff that I've been talking about, I mentioned before that we have these other Amplify your research sessions, like how do you search, how do you create a member account, things like that. I will go show you where you can find the rest of those. So here's where all that, let me get rid of all of this because that's a search result. So amplify your research sessions. You can see that we've done multiples of these. There's not going to be an accompanying document for this one in particular, just a video, I believe, but you can see that, how to research newspapers, maps, law materials, using search, filter, and facet to find what you need. So all that stuff is there. Member accounts, creating your own custom collection. So any other things, if you're kind of like, okay, how does AMP work? How does, what if I want to search something else? Check here, and you can, again, you can bookmark this. You can bookmark this. You can add it to your collection like anything else. And there's another tool that you can use if you come over to the more and do using this site research guide. This is a publicly accessible online guide that basically gives you instructions for how to use AMP, what all these buttons do, what happens if I click this. So you got some basic stuff. Here's your create a member account. Researching includes copyright permissions. What happens if you want to use something? How do I download something I want? Yeah, and then so navigation panel, that's over here, all these tools. So what happens on the home page? What can I do to browse all, search, my history, all these things. Tools, those are the different tools that show up to the left of an item. So tools, these guys. So yeah, have a look around in here. This will help you learn how to use AMP, because there's a lot of things that it can do, and it can be confusing sometimes about being like, well, how does this work, or I can't find this, things like that. And of course, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions. So you can come into here, contact us. This is filled out this way because I'm signed in as sort of like a sandbox member account. This will autofill with your credentials if you have a member account and you're signed in. You don't need one to contact me. You can always just send an email straight to azmemory@azlibrary.gov and say, hey, I'm lost. I can't figure this out. I looked for this brand and it doesn't seem to be in there. Can you help me? That's our main phone line that goes to our reading room desk. And then also, if you have any questions about the library as a whole, anything that may be not necessarily something that's on the memory project, or you're wondering like, hey, I'm looking for something that's not an AMP. Do you have anything else, in another collection that's got something? You can click on this and just basically, basic credentials, and then type in a question, ask away. We have a reference librarian that can that will see all these questions come in, and then she'll kind of assign them, take care of them, handle them on based on who knows the material best. So, but yeah, that's another way to get in touch with us if you've got a question that's kind of larger than sort of the what's going on in the memory. So again, there's that guide for you. And yeah, you can get to those resources just from the contact page, which is going to be on the header of every page on the site, so you don't have to go and dig for it. So yeah, that's brand books. This meeting or this webinar has been recorded, so we should have that video up hopefully later today. It'll be on that. It'll be on that amplify your research. I lost my tab here. There we go. It'll get posted here. This is just alphabetical, so you might have to look for it a little bit. But yeah, it'll be listed here somewhere, and then you can watch this over many times you want. And again, if you get stuck, reach out to us. We have one more of these Amplify Your Research sessions left for 2025. That link should be dropped in the chat to register for it. It's the same way you registered for this one. But yeah, the next one is going to be focused on sort of like power users. So I'm going to go a lot more into depth about what all these things do. So using your filters and facets, using the features, bookmarking a lot of things, creating your custom collection. So it's meant for anybody can attend, but it's meant for people who are doing kind of like a lot of research and need to keep things organized and kind of need to look for items in more advanced ways, because kind of basic searches aren't kind of cutting it, or they have so much research they need to do that they kind of need to figure out ways to do it more efficiently, things like that. So that's what the next one's going to be about. That'll be the last one for 2025. You'll also see on that events registration page an AMP information session that's scheduled for November 12th, which is a little off from now. But that one will give you an overview of what the Arizona Memory Project is, the purpose of the site, bit of the site's history, some new things that we're doing with the site, things like that. So that's more of a broad overview of the Arizona Memory Project, whereas these amplifies are deep dives into specific topics. So, yeah, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask. We've got some time. You can either drop it in the chat, unmute, so I'll leave it open for anybody who's got any questions about brand books or even just AMP in general. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. I don't see anybody, yeah, with a mic icon trying to speak. So we'll leave it at that. I want to thank everybody for attending. Hope to see you at a future event like this. And yeah, watch out for that video that'll get posted here later. And thanks so much, everybody, for attending. Have a good one.